set? All right. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's kind of like homecoming here for me. I haven't lived in Ludlow for a number of years. I live down in Baltimore, which everybody seems to think I commute from Maryland every day. No, it's right near Springfield. But yeah, back in 1981, I was the police chief here. So yeah, went on to work for the state of Vermont. Still did a lot of work in Ludlow area, but I broadened my horizons and I saw towns in Vermont that I didn't even know existed. So it was a wonderful career. But I want to talk to you tonight about Vermont Paranormal Investigators. There's a lot written, said, and on television about the paranormal. Most of it is pretty hokey, and no, I don't watch any of the shows. I end up really mad at the TV set. My wife says, "You do know they can't hear you, right?" And I go, "What are you doing?" Yeah. So first I got to talk about the difference between science and entertainment. Some people do call us and say, "I'd like to go out on a case with you," and I'd say, "Great, love to have you. What are you hoping to get out of this, and what do you think we do?" And usually pretty quick I can figure out which way these people are going. The reason that I have to do this is because if people want to go because it sounds like fun and we get to, chuck and jive with the ghosts, they found the wrong group, because that's not what we do. Seriously, VPI is founded and has always been around to help people. That's our number one thing. Usually what happens is the cases we did investigations on, it's because people called us and said, "Help, I'm at my wit's end, I don't know what else to do." You guys were recommended to us, and we really would like to have you guys come help us with what's going on at our place. So let's take a little walk along the science road and forget about the entertainment. We don't hire mediums. They have nothing to do. I mean, they do great work, but that's a different thing. And this is actually our principles and standards. I'm not going to read it. Don't expect you to read it. But we sat down and said, what are our goals here? What are we trying to achieve? What is our belief in this? And people are inviting us into their homes in most cases. So we have to be respectful. We have to take them at their word. And we have to try to provide whatever help we can to those folks. So it was founded in Springfield, Vermont in 2009 by two people that had personal experiences. And they said, I don't know how to explain what happened to me, but maybe if we got a bunch of people together with like minds and similar experiences, maybe we can try to figure out what might have happened. Because they were both kind of science-based people. Well, pretty early on they called me. And I said, okay, I know I'm known far and wide because I used to do bartender training, cashier training, a lot of law enforcement stuff. And I said, why are you calling me? And they said, because you're a criminal investigator. And I go, yeah, but why are you calling me? And they said, because we want you to become part of our group and go out and investigate these cases. And I said, boy, you called the wrong number. And I said, why? And I said, because it's a bunch of hooey, it's just stupid. I said, I've seen these things on TV and it's just stupid. And I said, you don't want anything to do with me. I totally don't believe in this stuff. And they said, you're exactly the perfect person that we want to investigate this. If we can prove to you something's going on. And I said, well, now you got me interested. So what happened was we had all the early core of VPI were made up of people from various backgrounds, but also various specialties. And that's what made us so strong. So unfortunately, right now, VPI is in kind of a hiatus. What happened was all the members, it was very strange. It wasn't paranormal. But everybody's careers took a different turn. Some people had health issues. Some people had moved away from the area. It all happened within a short period of about a year. And we found, wow, how can we go out on a case by ourselves? We can't. So right now, we're kind of in a sense of holding back and kind of figuring out what the heck are we going to do now. I'm pretty much the only one left at this point, because everybody that really was the glue that held it together, they just said, I don't have time right now to do this. So we're on case number 28, and these are the places that we've done. I thought we were going to only go to houses and small houses. Good Lord, we've done universities, you name it. We have had calls from the craziest places. Yes, even a bridge. People contact us by email. We did have a case manager. And for those of you in the audience that are former school teachers or current school teachers, you guys are fantastic case managers. You know why? Because you can see through BS a mile long. Somebody can be on the phone and you go, this guy is full of, oh man. I mean, they are so good at figuring that out. So she was our case manager, and she would take care of all the people that we'd say, you need to talk to your doctor about your meds. You know, something's not quite right here. She was so good about that. But yeah, she's a 5th grade school teacher, did the case managing. And what that person would do was say, okay, so when did these things occur? What exactly are they? And they get the person to start a journal. And the journal is all about writing down every single occurrence and all the details around that occurrence. I mean, details like what the weather was, what the temperature was, whether it was light or dark, who was home at the time, you know, every single detail they can. And the reason being is they're trying to figure out if there's some consistency to it. There's nothing worse than having 5 or 6 people from VPI show up at your house to check out what the heck you think is going on and what you've experienced, only to find out nothing was happening that night. And that does happen quite a bit. So we try to figure out if there's a night we need to go there. If it always happens on Friday night or Saturday morning or whatever. Excuse me, I have software in this computer, and it's special software designed specifically for paranormal investigations. And it's a fill in the blank, it tracks everything. It's really super detailed and very, very handy. The types of complaints, these are, I'll just page through real quick some of these complaints that we've received. And the only reason I say these are verified is that the people that had this happen to them, they really, really believe this was happening. It isn't because somebody was trying to make a joke or something. So these are verified. Yeah, sound of monkeys. We never did figure out what that one was, but that was interesting. And yes, there's more. Would anybody be calling somebody when all these things are happening to them? You think you'd go, okay, something's not quite right here? Yeah, that's where. So before we arrive, what we have to do is kind of come up with a strategy. And somebody was asking me earlier, do we have a meeting place? And the meeting place is usually we find a location where we're going to be going. Find a restaurant, a pizza place, something like that, and everybody gathers there. And the idea is that we find out who we've got, how long you can stay, and where we're going to go, and what the rundown of the place is. And that way we can go together to whatever the place is that we're going to be working on that night. Now, people always ask, why do you guys do this at night? Well, it's because how many people have ever gotten up between midnight and 3 in the morning? Pretty darn quiet, isn't it? That's exactly the reason. It's quiet. We've done investigations during the day, and I'll never forget, with headphones on, trying to listen to if there was any paranormal activity going on, and I heard backup alarms on oil trucks. I heard leaf blowers, lawn mowers. It was like, this is insane. I can't pick anything out. All I hear is all this background stuff. And this isn't really helpful. So we realized pretty early on we need to definitely do nighttime stuff. What do we pack? Good Lord, my SUV is always so full. Every time I would open the back, the members would go, how did you get all that in there? And I go, well, I had to be careful how I packed it. When we arrive, we sign the form, explain everything that's going to happen. And by the way, we are free. We never have charged a penny for anything, any of our services. We walk through with the homeowner or the business owner, because we've been in businesses too. And we videotape as we go. And what we're trying to do is videotape this room and say, you know, this is the east is this way, the west is this way. You know, there's tables here and chairs. And then we go to the next room and do that. And we document every single room, and the landlord, the owner, whoever it is, will say, nah, there's not been anything going on in here, or boy, that other room is really something's going on in that room. And we do that with the lights on, because once we go what we call lights off, you tend to stumble over things, and you'd rather not be stumbling over things in a room you didn't even need to go in the first place. So, excuse me. That's why the complete audio-video recording, locations, locate the base camp. That actually, that last thing, that's one of the hardest things to do. Base camp is where we set up a table, one much longer than this, and it has our monitors on it. We usually have at least 2 monitors going, and all our cameras are fed in by wires. It is, when we get done, we've had owners go, good Lord, look at the wires in this place. I mean, we have wires going everywhere to cameras, and the cameras, I've got one in the case in the back there, just one. We usually have anywhere from 8 to up to 16 cameras going at any given time. And these are cameras that operate in the complete darkness. I mean, it's so dark, you will actually poke yourself in the eye if you're not careful. It's so dark in there, because we turn every single light off in the structure. And that captures in, you'll see, it's kind of a grayish colored light, but we have those all coming in to the backs of the computers and the digital video recorders that we have going, and we capture everything. Complete debriefing of the owner. Like I said, we have that, I have that software. It goes into unbelievable detail about when was the building built, has it gone through any remodeling, lots of details, lots and lots of details. We do the lights off. Anybody know why we use red lights once we go lights off? Does anybody have any guesses as to why we would use red lights?
Because you can see.
Yes, but what is there about red lights?
As a sailor, I used a red light. It doesn't blind you.
Exactly, it doesn't blind you. One thing about red lights is that it doesn't destroy your night vision. When we go lights off, we usually kind of sit and shoot the breeze for about a half an hour. And what we're doing is trying to let our eyes get adjusted to that darkness. Because when you first turn lights off, you're going to walk right into a table. After about a half an hour, you go, oh, there's a table there, gotta watch out. And you go, how come I can see that now? It's because your eyes have become adjusted to that. The red light will not destroy that. If you turn on a regular flashlight, it's, and then you go, okay, now I'm gonna do another half an hour of sitting around just waiting for my eyes to adjust again. So yeah, red lights, only in pairs. Anybody have any ideas why we'd only do pairs?
Verification.
Excuse me?
Verification.
Exactly. Got to verify what we just saw and what we heard. Yeah, because if you have personal experiences while you're doing an investigation, wow, isn't that wonderful? You run back to the group and say, guess what I just heard? We didn't hear anything. Now, did you really hear it or not? So, yeah, verification. Mixing the sexes. This is one thing that we learned early on as well, is myself and another male can go into a room like this and sit there and just experience the room for a half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. Nothing. We can have 2 females come in, sit down in exactly the same place, and sit for the same length of time and go, holy smokes, there's all kinds of noises and this is going on and that's going on. And sometimes it has to be a mixed pair. So we mix things up throughout the evening as to who goes where and who does what. We attempt to recreate, and that's where we spend a lot of time with the homeowner trying to say, is it something you say and this comes back at you? Is it only when you sit in this particular chair that this occurs? Only when you walk in front of this particular window? So we're trying to recreate, we're trying to debunk, and that's, some people take it wrong. We're not saying that you had an experience in your home and this is what happened and oh, you're lying, that didn't happen. We're not trying to do that. Debunking is trying to find a scientific explanation for something that happens naturally, that we just didn't understand until we had it explained. So I'll get more into that in just a second. How long do we stay? Some people think a little too long. We get a little punchy about 4 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, I mean, if you work, at your regular job, and it's usually on a weekend, we find Saturdays seem to work the best. We've done it on Sunday nights, we've done it on Friday nights. What happens with Friday nights, not so good. We sometimes have to do them on Friday nights though, but we've done them on Friday nights where everybody has already worked an entire day Friday. and then you stay up all night long, and now you gotta, you tear down about 4:30 in the morning, and now you've got a 3-hour drive to get back home. By the time you get home, you're like, wow, I am way sleep deprived. So yeah, we stay for a long time. Tear down and pick everything up. Like, this is some of the questions I asked the homeowner, because all these things matter to when we start the investigation. A lot of different questions. That's only one page of many, many pages. This one is, people go, wait a minute, what's this solar X-ray thing? What do you need to know about that? Activity of the sun, when it spits out solar X-rays, it can mess with my delicate equipment I have in back there. You really can. So if I need to know that when we first go in, are we going to have problems with our instruments or not? Evidence review. This is the part that people go, if you've got another case I can go out on, I'd love to go out, but I don't like that review part. Okay, so we go out and do an investigation. We have audio recorders in strategic locations, usually 6 or 7 or 8 of them, dispersed around the home. And we, like I said, we have upwards of 16 cameras going. If we're there for 8 hours, now you take 8 hours times 16, how many hours of video have we got to look at? Okay? How many hours of audio have we got to listen to? Now, as you can tell by my hearing aids, I don't listen so well, so I don't do the audio. I can have headphones on and go right through something and say, I didn't hear anything. And then another person, you could put them on and go, wow, you didn't hear that? So I'm a bad person for audio, but I am a good person for video. So I have to sit in front of a TV set or a monitor, a computer monitor, for how many hours? And watch a room of nothing. Yeah, usually about an hour into it, oh geez, I fell asleep. How long did I fall asleep for? So now you've got to rewind and go, wow, when did I stop? When did I fall asleep? Okay, it was about a half an hour ago, so okay, I got to rewind that. It takes forever. It does, it takes forever. Sharing of suspicions without naming or details. What that means is, when we suspect something, like an audio, one of our audio investigators would typically email us with an attachment, an audio file, and they say, I don't know what's going on, but about hour number 3, at about a certain position, play that and tell me what you hear. Now, if everybody emails back and says, wow, I heard da 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 da, if that's what everybody heard, that's what's there. You see where we're getting at? We didn't tell them, listen for the bell chime at this time, because then you're going to be listening for a bell chime. When in fact I heard something completely different. If you got everybody just saying, this is what I heard, now you've confirmed what's really going on. So we try to capture the video moments, because nobody wants a copy of the stuff there where nothing was going on. Nobody wants a copy of that stuff. Detailed investigation report, yeah, we come back to the homeowner, a presentation of the evidence. It's fairly formal. We sit down with a homeowner. First thing we ask them is, anything happened since we've been here? And most of the time, it's really weird, for very active haunting or suspected haunting, people will say, it's funny, since you guys are here, nothing has happened. What did you do? Did you leave something behind, or did you say some magic words or something? No, just us being there and verifying what this person was hearing or seeing. Sometimes that's enough. That's all that's necessary to make things get quiet. Sometimes, wow, it's been crazy since you left. So again, they're journaling everything and telling us what's going on. And yes, we've done re-investigations as well. This is a copy of an actual report. Of course, I'm like the government, I got to redact things. Now, I took the people's names off, because when we go to a place, some people say, I don't care who you tell. And then others go, wait a minute. If I let you tell the world that you guys were here, what happens next? Well, you're going to have a lot of people pulling into your driveway. I want to go see the haunted house, especially around Halloween time. Yeah, so some people go, tell you what, take my name off and the location, and then you can tell people what exactly happened. So that's what we have in most cases. So here's the report that we fill out, and it's detailed. I give that to the homeowner, copy of everything that we recorded. So, presentation of evidence, we do that in person. Give them a disc, copy of the report, request the journal, and say, please keep continuing to journal. You know, the more stuff you have, the better it is. Promise to return if anything bad happens. Here's what we found. This is where people go, oh, cool, get the good stuff. Yeah, animals on the property. I'll never forget putting an outside camera in a hunting camp that we were working on. And it was one of these big parking lot kind of infrared cameras on the outside of the house. And I'm the video guy, and I'm sitting there in front of this thing for hours and hours and hours, just watching woods at night. Nothing going on. And I'm actually hoping for a breeze to blow a tree or something to show me something. You know, nothing. Nothing's happening until an owl flew right at the camera. Well, after I picked my chair up off the floor, along me with it. Okay, what was that? And I replayed it, and it was an owl. And owls fly at night, don't they? Yeah, not what I expected. Bad electrical wiring. We did a case up in the Barry area, Barry, Vermont. Very nice couple, really wonderful people. They were seeing apparitions walking down their hallway at night while they were watching TV. Scared the heck out of them. You know, people from here up, very clear, there they go down the hallway again. What we found was, we asked them questions about, you know, has it been replumbed recently, had any heating issues, had any electrical issues? And they said, yeah, we had an electrician come in and update our wiring. Really? When was that? And he said, well, last summer. And I said, oh, really? So he took all the wiring out. Yeah, he did rewired everything, new electrical boxes, new lights, everything. Oh, wow. Huh, that's interesting. So I asked the homeowner, I said, can we go down in the basement and kind of see your electrical box? And I took some of my instruments with me, and we followed it along on the beams, and followed it back to the box. Yeah, there's the box. Yeah, I'm looking up the stuff, and I go, I see some really old wiring. I said, what's that still doing up there? And the guy said, huh, the guy was supposed to take that out. That's the old stuff. I said, oh no. So I climbed up on a little stool, got up there with some of my electronic equipment. Guess what? The guy had never disconnected the old wiring. And it ran right down the main beam of the house, like this beam right here, right down the entire beam of the house. Guess what was right above the beam of the house? The hallway. Yeah. So we started saying, this is getting really interesting. Looks like electrical issues here. Sure enough, that's what it was. If you guys ever want to spend an interesting evening sometime, you know the big panel that runs all the electricity in your house? It's usually in the basement, right? Yeah. If you could get to it, a lot of Vermont homes you can't really get to it, but if you can get to it, put a little chair there. Turn all the lights off, all the sound, and just sit there for a while. Tell me how long you can sit there before the hairs on the back of your neck start to go up. Why is that? Anybody have any wild guesses? It's very common, and it would happen to every single person in this room if you did it. It happens because if you were to take some of the sensitive electronic equipment that we have here and take it to your electrical box, you would watch the needle go right off the scale. Unbelievable activity. What it is that box, and just the nature of electricity, is spinning electronic waves constantly coming off the box. Now, if you step back about 4 feet, that needle will come right back down. It only happens when you're really close. And the electrical activity is absorbed into our brain. If you guys understand the brain much, what happens is electronic activity. That's how we think and learn and listen, and everything all happens up in our brain. It's all electrical. If you interrupt that, it messes with your brain pretty bad. It makes you think somebody's watching you, and you will snap your head around and think, oh my God, somebody's behind me. Yeah. So that bad electrical wiring was saturating these poor people's heads. Every night when they're watching TV, they're sitting in their living room, and there goes that fully charged bad electrical wiring, and sure enough, our electronic gadgetry. And so I said, what you need to do, sir, is call another electrician to have that disconnected. He did that And everything that was happening, they reported before, stopped, everything. And the electrician that did the rework said, boy, are we glad that they got a hold of you guys. That house would have burned down with them in it. So that's what we say. We try to help people. That's what we're trying to do. Plumbing issues. Some people's plumbing, when you flush the toilet or whatever, makes the most horrible sound when there's nothing going on at night. Yeah. Heating problems, same deal. Forced hot air is famous for that. Forced hot water is another big problem, so you gotta try to figure that out. Cold drafts explain. Some people will say, you know, I think there's an essence that goes through this house every time I walk by this window. Well, what we find is with that nice little gadget and a little teeny case in the front there, that $2,000 piece of equipment that's designed for heat inspections, you can find those cold spots, and sometimes it's explained by, might want to insulate underneath that window. Simple as that. Electronic service. We had another case we did at a daycare center. The proprietor of the daycare center was reporting all kinds of spirits and whatnot in her bedroom at night when she was trying to sleep. What we found was there was a major service with huge electrical cables attached to the side of her house that was right on the other side of the wall of the bed that she slept in. So her head was about this far from that electrical wire all night long. So we said, just humor us, turn your bed 180 degrees and tell us what you see. And she called back a week later and said, you know what's funny, since I turned my bed around, we've had nothing happen. It's been very quiet. Aha. So we're trying to come up with sensible explanations. The whole point, guys, when we do the investigation, if we can find a scientific explanation, one, we've solved the problem, right? We've got rid of your haunting. And two, we provided you with an explanation of what really was happening in your life. But what happens if you've exhausted every single scientific principle you've ever heard of? What do you have left? That's the answer. That's the million-dollar question. What's left? What do you have? Is it paranormal? Is it a ghost? Could be rock deposits. Anybody ever heard of Emily's Bridge up in Stowe? Famously haunted. Supposedly, there's quite a story that goes with that. Google it sometime, it's worth reading, it really is. Emily's Bridge up in Stowe. We did an investigation of that because we happened to be going somewhere and we had some time on the way back, so we stopped and said, hey, let's do the bridge. Found out what's going on with that place. There are certain kind of rock deposits underneath that bridge on both sides that make those sensitive electronic gear. It's the same as putting your head beside electric service in somebody's home. Same thing. That's what's happening is people go to the bridge and go, wow, I think I see things. Well, yeah, you do. You see things because the electricity in the air is causing it. I have to chuckle on this one. One of our members was a licensed psychologist, so she understood medication for people's psychiatric problems. And she happened to use the homeowner's bathroom. She couldn't help herself. She looked in the medicine cabinet and went, oh my God. She came out and she kind of whispered to me. She said, those two medications, I hope the guy's not taking them together. So I said, well, let's find out. So I asked the guy, I said, you're taking these two medications together? Yeah. He said, I had one doctor prescribed one to me and another doctor prescribed this other one to me. And I said, you might want to go talk to your physicians because, I don't know, just a wild guess here, but I believe that the two combined create hallucinations, which that's a chemical fact. You put those two together in a person's body and they're going to see things anyway. So that's what it was, medication conflicts. Sometimes we did an investigation in a house, could not figure out what the heck was going on in this place. Personal experiences like you would not believe on all the investigators' parts. Recorded a ton of stuff. Couldn't really put a finger on what the heck was going on there. I did an investigation afterwards on the history of the house and found out a pedophile had lived there for many, many years. And most of the activity was happening in the basement. Of course, makes your mind race as to what the heck was going on down there. But yeah, that was, or we just don't know. And we'll be honest, we'll tell people, Something's going on here, I just have no idea what the heck it is. So what else have we found? This is an investigation we did in the wintertime. I do take a lot of pictures inside and outside. This is an outside of a dwelling, of a house. And as you can see, pretty darn cold, right? Now I know what some of you are thinking. Aha, there's orbs. Those aren't orbs, those are called snow. If you take a snapshot with a flash photography in the wintertime and it's spitting snow, you're going to have what look to be orbs, and they're not really orbs. All they are is the water particles are being illuminated by the flash. That's all they are. So, just taking a series of pictures on the outside, just establishing this is the outside of the structure. And I'm looking at my camera and I go, what was that? Anybody see this? Yeah. Next picture, it ain't there. I have a digital camera that goes snap, 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 snap. The difference between the time when I took this, and this is probably just a hair over a second. It wasn't there, it was there, and it wasn't there. So I went into one of the investigators, because I was just, normally we go in pairs. So I go in, and I say to one of the investigators, I said, dude, come here. I said, what are you seeing here? And he goes, where'd you take that? And I said, outside. Now the reason I was out by myself, these are just establishment shots. These are just, you know, the north side of the house is here, the south side is here, this is where the driveway comes. It was just benign stuff. You could take it middle of the day, at night, whenever you want. I wasn't trying to determine whether it was paranormal or not. I'm just trying to take pictures of the house. So we went back out, and he said, there's got to be a heat source somewhere. So we tried to, that's what we try to do, is try to replicate what took place. There are no heating vents, there was no engines running. We went every step by step by step by step, and there was no reason for that to be there. To this day, I do not know what that is. So what are you left with? Well, here you go, Mr. Homeowner, this is what we found. We don't know what it is, but we documented it. This is a video. This was taken in a hotel. This is one particular hotel room, very expensive hotel room. This is me standing here, and this is one of our investigators seated. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is one of those cameras that takes pictures in complete, total darkness. Okay, so it looks lit up, but it isn't really. So, and this is the odd part. See what I'm wearing right now? That's what I was wearing there. Why does this show up as gray and this show up as black? I don't know. No idea. They always do. I don't know what, something about coloring. But anyway, let me show you the video. Let me if you see something. Only runs about 10 seconds.
Yep, right there.
Now,
See the orb?
You
Yeah.
won't.
What was it? Was it dust?
you guys saw it, didn't you? Yeah. When we were there, we didn't see it. And that's the strange things about some of these occurrences. Until you do the video evidence review, you don't see any. We've left a place at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning and say, well, folks, that was a wasted trip. No personal experiences. We didn't hear anything. We didn't see anything. Had this gear running all night long. We tried recreating all kinds of nothing. Well, guess we didn't catch anything tonight.
There's 7 of them.
Yeah, and you go back and look at the evidence and you go, wow. And this is actually, unfortunately, in some cases, we've lost investigators because of this. Because they'll look at the video and go, that happened when I was sitting there? I'm out of here, bye, see ya. I don't need this. What was going on here, guys, is those little orbs were coming out now. In a lot of cases, they're just dust. And I had this poor lady, she's a wonderful lady, let us in her home, doing an investigation, and she was so embarrassed. She had just cleaned her house, and she said, I don't know how there can be dust in my house. There is dust in everybody's house. There's no avoiding it. And unfortunately, these infrared cameras pick that up like you would not believe. So we've got to figure out, is it dust or is it something else? This case is something else. Dust doesn't do these kinds of gyrations. It usually doesn't blink, and it doesn't usually go around and then under the bed and come back out and go back around another way. Air currents just can't do that. So that's what we were trying to figure out, is what the heck's going on. Now here's the same room, nobody's in it, different time. There is dust mixed in here though, so you'll see some stuff floating around. That actually is dust. And then you got this Mr. Guy here.
Yeah.
Not sure what he was all about.
That makes you think it was a he.
I don't know. This is a very subtle one. This is a house. This is a hallway that goes down. There's a hamper right there. Bedroom here, bedroom there, and right here is a bathroom in that way. But this door right here is a door to a very small closet. It's just a linen closet where they put towels and whatnot. So there's a linen closet there. You run this.
I see it over.
Mm-hmm. We didn't at the time. This occurred within 15 minutes of us setting up our cameras. And nothing else happened the rest of the night. Because when I first got this, I went, oh my word. And I really was very meticulous about all the rest of the video for the remainder of the evening. So yeah, all it was the door opening and closing. Now some of you would probably go, you know, I bet that's when the furnace came on. Nope, wasn't that. We made sure we checked for that. Must be somebody opened the door in the house. Nope, nobody opened the door either. So we checked where everybody was and what everybody was doing at that particular time, because that's why the timestamp is so important. No, nobody had gone in or out. So what do you have left? Don't know. Don't know.
But did you see an orb come out of the door though?
I didn't have to see
Can you
that.
rewind it so we can see?
Carol, you better sign up for this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, you just watch. No, wait for it. Wait. See?
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
can see it.
Yeah, that I think was dust. But again, I think it was dust. It was because it had a trajectory, it was straight. Now, could it have been an actual orb? Maybe, could have been. Dust tends to go in straight lines or very predictable directions. What was very interesting about this house, when we did the presentation of evidence to the homeowner, we came back, myself and another investigator, dressed like this, we went to the home and the lady was like, oh, thank you guys so much for coming back and here's what's going on, presented her with everything. And not too far down the hallway here, you curve around and there's a fireplace. And there's a brick fireplace. And on top of the mantel is, family pictures and whatnot. And the way that the fireplace was constructed out of brick, there were these little jutting pieces. So what she would do is it had been a hunting camp many, many years ago. She would walk outside in the nice weather, and there was a brook nearby, and she'd gather any stone she found that was round and smooth, and she would put it on those little bricks. And it was, just something she did. Well, as we were sitting there and talking to this lady about this video and a few other things that we caught there, a rock came, and now we're sitting talking to her, and a rock came off between us investigators. It came off from about where the wall is, all the way across and landed at both of our feet. And I looked at the other investigator and I said, she goes, we looked at the owner, and the owner said, she wasn't looking at the right time in the right way. And we didn't say anything. And we said, thank you very much. If you determine that there's anything else going on here, please call us. We'll come back, do another investigation. We walked out. all gathered and collected and everything, got under their vehicles. Once we got out of the driveway, I said, "Did you see what just happened?" Oh my God, it was right here. And he said, "I think something's pissed at us." Could be, something might be pissed at us. Now I've got a couple of pieces of audio for you. Audio is tough. Let's see if I can make sure I get this right. The audio people that do the listening for us, they're listening for a word or something out of 8 hours, 9 hours of things. It's really hard to pick out, and I'm amazed by some of the stuff they can get. So I'm hoping you guys can hear this.
It's like a nice long drive ahead. In the middle of nowhere.
Now, most of us go, so what? It's a couple people talking. Let me set the stage for you. There's a room in a big multi-use commercial structure. It used to be a retirement home 100 million years ago, but it's been reconverted into all kinds of different things since then. And we're on the 3rd floor. There's this one room. It's about the size of what room we're in right now. Carpeted room, but nothing in it. They were in the process of taking one business out and they hadn't brought in a new business. So it's absolutely empty. So we've got 2 female investigators. They're sitting in the middle of the floor in complete and total darkness with a recorder right between the both of them. Now also in this room are 2 cameras. One's in back of where Sharon is and one's over in back of me. And they're pointed towards each other so we can see the 2 female investigators sitting on the floor just having a conversation. Well, one of the investigators is having this conversation about, she lives quite a ways from here, and she was saying, you know, we've been here a long time tonight, we're not hearing anything, we're not seeing anything, and I have got one heck of a long drive to get home tonight. Well, evidently, the other person, the 3rd person in the room, which by the way, isn't alive, I happen to think that that was just about the darndest thing they'd ever heard. So I'll let you listen again. That's where the "oh my God" comes from.
It's like a nice long drive ahead. In the middle of nowhere.
That's neither one of them. That's a 3rd person in the room. They didn't hear it at the time, and we replayed it, you know, being very careful not to lead them on. We replayed it individually to both of them and said, "Who's this other person?" And they go, "It wasn't me." "Well, it isn't me either." It's neither one of their voices. It's a 3rd voice that appeared. Yeah. So what do you deduct out of that? Well, somebody thinks we're a little exasperated that we have to drive a long ways. Yeah, that's where the "oh my God" came from. This is a audio recording from one of our investigators being in an elevator. Now, this elevator is so tiny, it's designed for one wheelchair. It's one of those really tiny handicapped elevators. So we were going to put 2 investigators in there until we realized that being a little claustrophobic, these 2 investigators, it wasn't going to happen. So he said, I'll sit in there. And he's Mr. Skeptic. He's like me. Nothing ever happens to him. This is ridiculous. I don't know why I come out here and do this stuff, but he's also an electrical engineer, so he's a really super smart guy. So he's in the elevator, and whoops, I went too far.
In the elevator now.
Let me replay that if it allows me to.
In the elevator now.
Catch that? He asked if anybody was in the elevator. And it said, "Oh." Now, at the time, he was sitting there, "Somebody say hello to you in the elevator?" He goes, "What are you, nuts?" Nobody saw you. I was in there by myself. He said, "I didn't hear anything. Heard you guys outside talking somewhere, but I didn't know nobody in here." Played this to him, and he goes, "Okay, that's just creepy." There was somebody in the elevator with me, and he said, "Yeah, I guess so." Now, for those of you a little sensitive, yeah, the B word's about to be said. This happened when it was our 3rd or 2nd revisit. So this was the 3rd time we've been there. And one of our female investigators, she likes to provoke. She likes things to happen. So when you're there about 6 hours and it's pretty quiet, nothing's going on, she says, well, I don't think there's anything going on here. I think whatever's going on, and she just starts to agitate. She's really good at this. That may be why her psychiatry is her chosen profession. She's really good at this stuff. So she says, I'm gonna provoke, and we go, oh jeez, last time you did that. So yeah, so this is what we hear on the video, or on the audio rather. Very light. I don't know if you could hear that. You heard it? You hear that? Yeah. That was the second time that this investigator had been called out by whoever lives there. And she actually, she became a highly religious, nothing wrong with religion, but she became highly religious after all this. She said, I now have proof there's something else going on out there. So she said, you know, I think I need to go to church now. So, okay, that's fine. This was just downright creepy. This scared the bejesus out of all of us investigators. We walked in the house and went, what is this? And the homeowner goes, oh, this is awesome. This is my wall of death. I gotta show you this. So we looked at it and went, that's just what I think it is. These are death masks. You guys know what a death mask is? It's a mold that they make of a person right after they die, immediately. One of them, I don't know which one's supposed to be Bela Lugosi. I mean, the guy bought stuff on eBay. These are plaques that belong on caskets, real caskets, for real people. Yeah. Pretty creepy stuff, huh? Yeah. This was the end all of everything here. I looked in this little cabinet that he had, and he had all these weird antique things displayed, and they come from different funeral parlors and whatnot. And I said, so what's this little baby carriage? And he said, oh, that's the coolest part. And I said, what do you mean? He said, that's what they used to put the baby's body in when they died. That's when they had the funeral. That's what, many years back in the 1800s, that's what they put the baby's corpse in. And I went, it's just sick. There's something wrong here. So we pulled his wife aside and said, that thing needs, all this stuff needs to go. I said, that's part of your problem with what you think is going on here. Part of it, that was the guy with the meds thing. But we suspected some other stuff going on. It was so funny, he was convinced that he had this big fern plant about this tall in front of one of his sliding glass doors that went on his patio. He was convinced that an entity was knocking that thing over. And guess what was right near it? Convinced something was going on. You know what what we caught on camera? We caught his two big dogs knocking it over. Over and over and over. Yeah, dogs are knocking it over. So case in point, this was a very interesting case, and I was talking to a couple of people here earlier tonight about this one. This is a case of a really, really old home built in the early 1800s. It was moved to another location, not very far, maybe 300 or 400 yards, but it was moved to a new location, and then modernized, added onto, and what the homeowner, or no, I shouldn't say the homeowner, well, yeah, I guess it's the homeowner, it's a second home. Every time they come up here to stay in Vermont, people who stayed in these beds, which are really cool beds, they're really raised beds, you know, the really old-fashioned ones. People, if they slept in this bed, would report somebody walking through the bed. Now, they said it was kind of a little creepy when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody's walking right across your lap. And you go, where the heck are they going? Yeah, and they're in really old clothes. Really old clothes, like mid-1800s kind of clothing. So we said, okay, we'll take a look at it. And the caretaker said, oh, I I gotta tell you a story. And I said, well, what's that? He said, you see this? This is an entryway that goes up into one section of the house, hallway. It's a staircase, rather. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, this house one time was owned by a farmer. And he said, the farmer's wife hung herself in this staircase. Really? Okay. So somebody died a violent death in that house. Yes, definitely. And then I found 2 people died violently in the house. Through my sources, I got a hold of a state police report from the early 1950s. State police hadn't been in existence very long, but I did an investigation of the house. It seemed that the guy and his wife came up on vacation, that owned the house at that time, came up on vacation. They usually bring their kids in for whatever reason this weekend they didn't. As they were loading the car Sunday afternoon to go back to the city, he was putting his shotgun in the car, and the darn thing discharged and hit his wife in the head and killed her. It was the damnedest thing. And the state police said, got no witnesses otherwise, so method of death, gunshot wound to the head. I think it was a little more than that. Yeah. This furniture in the house, I said to the caretaker, well, where did that stuff come from? Was that part of the house? And he goes, oh no, that came from the such and such castle when I went. The famous haunted one? And he goes, yeah. Okay. All these check marks are starting to happen. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're faced with on TV, folks. You know, we're trying to do an honest investigation with a scientific mind, and we're faced with ghost hunters and some of the paranormal TV shows. We've been invited to be a part of 3 different TV shows. 2 of them were Sci-Fi Channel, by the way, so they weren't just fly-by-night kind of places. We turn them down every single time. 1, none of us has the time. 2, we know from speaking to people that have been on these shows that most of the stuff they make up, they actually make the stuff up to make the ratings go up. And it just, personal integrity is everything for us. If we lose our personal integrity, then what the heck are we doing? So we didn't want to be a part of it. The 3rd one, our case manager called and she said, hey, we got another movie deal. And I said, oh Lord, what this time? She said, you are not going to believe this one. Well, after I picked the phone up off the floor because I was laughing so hard I couldn't hang on to it, I said, you aren't serious, are you? And she said, yeah, they are dead serious. They want us to headline the show. You know what the name of the show was? Naked Paranormal Investigators. You know why we were laughing so hard? She said if they saw the 4 of us on TV naked, they would turn off the TV sets. So yeah, so anyway. Thank you for your time. I'd love to entertain any questions you guys might have. Right now, as I said, we're kind of in a holding pattern with VPI. Love to get it going again. I've got well over $10,000, almost $15,000 worth of equipment. I don't know, my wife says, what are you going to do with it? I don't know. Can't just sell this stuff. I mean, I guess you could, but who's going to buy it? So any questions from anybody? I know it's kind of getting late.
Are you going to tell them about your real life experiences on High Street?
Oh, they did. Oh, they did.
Well, maybe you should
They're
tell
going
the
to start
crowd.
keeping track of things. Yeah. The best thing I can say for you guys, just on a personal note, if you think something might be going on in a place you work, place you live, place you visit, just make a journal. Write everything down. See if there's any kind of repetition to it, and if you can find a repetition, like one guy said, man, this is what's going on. I went, wow, that's awesome. How often does it happen? He said, 3 times a year. And I went, okay. Is it, day of the week, month? There ain't no rhyme or reason to it, no pattern. So when should we go? I don't know. So he's going to keep journaling it. As far as paranormal thing going on, we did have an investigation we were supposed to go on. I was pretty excited about it because it was one of the rare ones. Things were flying around in the kitchen, like knives and plates and silverware, and things getting broken on a regular basis. That's something physical that you could document. You can take pictures of it, you can do audio, personal experiences, yeah, we can do all that stuff. They called us back the week before we were gonna go and said, you know what, we think it's grandma and we kinda like having her around. Okay, if you're cool with it, it's your house, your life. So, anyway, thank you guys very much. I know it's getting late.